The short break is over, and we are back. And not only are we back with a spectacular fight night. Anytime we get an event in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi, we know it's going to be an absolute banger, and that's exactly what we have here. UFC Saudi Arabia is this weekend, and it is borderline a pay-per-view worthy card. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Saudi Arabia fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before we jump into that, let's look at the future. We are kicking off a 16-week stretch of big-time fights every single Saturday. The holiday break is over. That one random week break is over, and now we are full-blown into the stretch. It's going to take us clear through the spring. Next weekend is UFC 312. Then we have a slew of incredible fight nights, but not only at the Apex. The UFC will be traveling regionally. Every single one of these events will be broken down. You will get picks, you will get bets, you will get tools, and you will get every single thing that you need for all of these events week in and week out. If you're not a premium member, you should become one now. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's $10. It's $10 for an entire month. And if you time it right, not only will you get the 4 fights that you see here on the screen, you'll get a 5th. If you time this right, you can squeeze in a 5th card. We also have future bets and everything on the board. That is $2.50 an event. If you sign up right now for $10, it's $2.50 for all the picks, bets, tools, and everything else for UFC Saudi Arabia. $2.50 for all the picks, bets, tools, and everything else for UFC 312. $2.50 for every single one of these events because it's only $10 an entire month. And that $10 will give you access to everything that we do. You will also have full access for the app. The app is 100% free. You can download that app right now. Just go to the App Store, search We Want Picks, download the app. Thousands of you have done it, and thousands more should. 100% free, and you will get push notifications. That is huge when we are placing future bets. When craziness happens, like the main event drops at UFC 311, you will get a push notification to your phone letting you know what happened and when we have updated picks, updated bets, and everything is ready to go. Just search We Want Picks in the iOS App Store before you ask about Android. We're working on it. We had an Android app. It was wonky for some reason, so we're working that out. For now, the iOS app works absolutely flawlessly. Everything that you have access to on the web, you have access to in the app, but with push notifications. And when I say everything, I'm talking about picks, bets, and tools. One of those bets, just one of the bets, is the safety parlay. Safety parlay continues to be the beacon of stability. Nobody hits at a 100% accuracy, but I just hit 10 of the last 12 safety parlays. I just gave you a 54% ROI from one single bet every single week. You'll also have full access to the DraftKings optimizer and ownership projections. If you play DraftKings Fantasy, you know how wildly important it is to have the best ownership projections available. And that's exactly what we have. Here's the ownership projections for UFC 311. We are all the way to the right in the green column, and you see every single one of our competitors to the left, and you can see the margin of error differences there. When I say our competitors, I'm not talking about Joey Dickhead's Twitter, and that's not for anybody specific. I don't know a Joey other than Joe Todoro, but he's not a dickhead. What it is the Roto Grinders, the Awesimos, the Skotastic, these giant, massive DFS companies that have hundreds of thousands, tens of millions of dollars in advertising revenue, let alone money to invest in their product. We beat them all. We beat every last one of them. This is included. You're also going to get the data analyzer. This pulls in data from every single fight card available, every fighter, all the specific data points. Then you can stack filters. You can find your prop bet through this. If you want to see how many significant strikes a fighter lands in decision losses, a couple clicks of the button, there is that. If you then want to watch those fights, to do your own research with your eyes, you click one button, video pops up, and you can go ahead and watch that tape. And it's not just me with this really cool kid hat and this gorgeous face. There's others as well. We got a couple of dudes from New Zealand. I don't know how we got the New Zealand MMA market on lock, but we did. We have Artem breaking down not only UFC, but PFL, all the regional shows as well. We got Bet Sam coming in hot, coming off a spectacular UFC 311. For him, his picks and bets and breakdowns are available. And we have an artificial intelligence giving you picks and bets. Every single freaking thing that I mentioned. A bunch of other things that I didn't mention because if this intro goes too long, everybody cries, is available right now. $10 a freaking month. You're going to get this card. UFC 312. The 2 fight nights after that. WeWantPicks.com. click become a member. And if you don't do any of that crap, but you just appreciate the content, well, become a premium member. That is the easiest way to support us. And finally, before I break down this card, we've been on a wild little vlog hot streak. We filmed a vlog for UFC Vegas 101. I went to Vegas. We film a vlog for every single pay-per-view. So you got the UFC 311. I'm filming a vlog for the fight night here in Frisco, Texas. We went to Peak Fighting Championships, filmed an entire vlog and our experience there. And every single vlog includes a mail day. People send us things. We open them. We review the products. We eat the food. We do all the things. If you want to send something for us to open, you can do so now. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this card. I've actually broken this card down a few times. Many of you may have already seen those breakdowns. I've got a couple of tweaks and a couple of changes here. If you're a premium member, you can just see it on the website. Everybody else, strap in, because here we go. I am going to try to keep this a little shorter than, sometimes I start ranting and raving. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter than usual because I have broken this down a few times. Some people are just like, Angie, you tall, beautiful bastard. Just get to the point. Please, your voice is sultry and you're gorgeous, but please, I have a couple things to do. Just get to the point. So I'm going to try to do that. Thank you for the compliments. Opening up the UFC Saudi Arabia fight card, we have the newest matchup on the slate. We have Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady taking on Bolaji Oki. Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady wants to come forward. He's a pressure striker. He's going to bomb away. He's never sitting still. Some people said he's Marab, but a striker. That's a comparison people were making. Just moves forward relentlessly, crazy pressure, always throwing something, always doing something, plenty of movement, plenty of feints. He does get hit, though. He's not as defensively sound as he is offensively. He will work in some takedowns. He's not a pure striker. He can be dangerous on the feet. And what happens is people are so worried about his striking, they forget that there's a takedown hiding in the shadows. He's taking on the Bolaji Oki. Bolaji Oki, coming off a spectacular come from forward loss. I don't know how to word that, but he was beating the absolute piss out of Chris Duncan and then got guillotined. So if we just ignore the fact that he got caught and just look at his skill sets and what he does, he's not terrible. Bolaji Oki's pretty solid. He's a busy striker. He's got a good jab. He also has good forward pressure and good power. He likes to pump that jab. He likes to set things up and then explode into combinations. When he finds his openings, he's got good takedowns. He also has incredibly fast sprawls. He does tend to slow down as fights go on, but he can remain dangerous. Bolaji Oki can give a lot of people a lot of problems, especially because he will just stick to a jab. Stay busy, stay in your face, and not get entirely too reckless. Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady was originally supposed to fight jiu-jitsu nerd Jordan Levitt, and that dude was going to get the mortgage on my house. Everything I own was going on him to smoke Jordan Levitt. Unfortunately, we got a little swatcheroo here. He's now fighting a much tougher opponent. He's striker instead of a grappler. People love Bolaji Oki here. I'm sticking with Al-Selwady. He had the full camp. He has the incredible pressure. Bolaji Oki slows down over time. Al-Selwady does not. So I'm going Al-Selwady here. Check your sports books. Some have this, some don't. The odds are kind of all over the place, and I'm expecting a ton of movement. What happens during the weeks off is people take a break. They forget. And what ends up happening is you need a few fight weeks back for people to get in the routine of every Saturday. Oh, yeah, fight Saturday. It's Saturday. It's Saturday. It's Saturday. So we can snipe some solid odds here, take advantage of the people sleeping, the casuals. I'm liking Al-Selwady here. I think he gets it done. Then we have Hamdy Abdelwahab taking on Jamal Pogues. Hamdy, a bit of a clown at times. No offense, Hamdy. He is a decorated wrestler. He's quite literally an Olympian, an Olympic wrestler. Not only is he an Olympic wrestler, I believe he was the first ever Olympic wrestler representing Egypt. Something to that effect. First ever Egyptian fighter in the UFC. But the reality is, he came in his last fight, right? The Olympic wrestler. Fighting a guy that can be taken down. And he did win that fight. But he also was loaded with drugs. Suspended for 2 years. This is his first fight back after a 2-year suspension because he just had performance-enhancing drugs oozing from him, even though he looks like this. And then he had the nerve to be posting on social media, champion, UFC champion. And it was sponsor posts, but nobody told the sponsor, hey, not only is he not a UFC champion, he was just suspended for 2 years for cheating. So You don't know what you're going to get here, other than Hamdy Abdelwahab is an Olympic wrestler. He did wrestle for the Iranian Olympic team, even though he's an Egyptian, and he represents Egypt in the UFC. He throws power. He tries to set up his takedowns, and obviously, he's a very good wrestler. Problem is, kind of a sloppy-ass fight in his last fight, and that was him juiced to the gills. It was short notice, but again, juiced to the gills. He hasn't fought in 2 full years, so I don't know what we're going to get here because he's fighting Jamal Pogues. Jamal Pogues doesn't suck. Jamal Pogues is a busy heavyweight. He's always throwing something. He's got good volume, decent pace. He doesn't have that big one-punch knockout power that you would hope for in a heavyweight, but he'll be there. He'll hang out. He can grapple. Obviously, he's not an Olympian, but he can grapple. If you go and look at his Contender Series fight, he had 7 takedowns. On the regional scene, you break down that tape, he's got a bunch of takedowns there as well. He is coming off that win over Thomas Petersen, who we'll break down a little bit later, where it was basically, I don't know, volume that got it done. The cardio didn't look good. Everything, he kind of looked terrible. He also looked like he didn't know what to do off of his back. And that is why I'm picking Hamdy. I think Hamdy will get a takedown or two. And we saw Jamal on his back really not know what to do. Hamdy is squarely an underdog. He's remaining an underdog. I do expect this to flip. I think some people are going to look at this and be like, man, he is an Olympic wrestler. And yeah, he was juiced to the gills, but I mean, just needs a takedown per round. And Jamal just off his back doesn't have a ton to offer. So I am going Hamdy here. I'm going to keep an eye on the line. I'm going to eat my own dog food, drink my own champagne. I'm going to go to WeWantPicks.com. I'm going to use the line movement tracker. That is a tool that shows me the opening odds and the current odds, as well as the line movement percentage and the implied probability. And I'm going to look at that. I'm going to see, is Hamdy continuing to widen or is that line tightening? And if it's continuing to widen, I'm going to wait. And I'm going to hit him. I'm going to try to get him at the peak. If it tightens, then I'm probably just going to hit it right then and there before we lose all the value when he does flip to a favorite. I think he might flip to a favorite, but I've been wrong before. Then we got Bogdan Grad taking on Lucas Alexander. This is another really fun fight because Bogdan Grad, well-rounded guy overall. He's got solid striking, and his striking is pretty straightforward. Well, he'll stick to jabs. He'll have nice setups, and he's not going to chase knockouts, but he does find those finishes. He's got heavy kicks. He'll invest in the legs. He wants to slow you down. He'll work in the wrestling when he can. He'll attempt takedown after takedown when he is in that mode. And when he does get a takedown, he will focus on control instead of just trying to finish you outright. Well-rounded guy, and he does make adjustments during the fights. He's fighting Lucas Alexander, maybe his toughest test yet. Lucas Alexander is a powerful striker. He does like to showcase. He's pretty wild on the feet, if you will. He uses kicks well, though, and he will use those to manage range. And then if he gets inside the pocket, he will explode. The grappling is okay. It's mostly defensive, but he uses it really well. He'll stuff the takedown. He'll block the arms. He'll spin. He'll take your back. He'll end up on top if you shoot a sloppy takedown. He's got big power, diverse striking, solid training partners, and if he has cardio, which is questionable, he's a real threat. He is coming off that KO loss to Jekka Sargai. And the reality is Jekka kind of sucks, right? Jekka's got a little bit of power, and that's it. And that's not great. That's not great. That loss is a bit of a problem here. Lucas is probably the more exciting fighter. And if you just watch these two fight, you would assume Lucas is the more dangerous of the two. Because Bogdan doesn't come out crazy, but he does find a ton of finishes. He has 11 stoppages. 11 stoppages in his 14 wins. But he doesn't do it recklessly. He's not just bombing away, hoping for the best. He's methodical. He doesn't go hunting for a finish, but he does find it. I am picking Bogdan Grad here. Lucas Alexander is somebody who can be finished. I do think Lucas is good, though. And Lucas can be dangerous. I'm going Bogdan. I think Bogdan's going to get it done. I was hoping he'd be a big-time dog here because of Lucas, but this is another fight. Let's just see what happens. I think a lot of people are going to be betting on Lucas Alexander. He's the more proven UFC fighter. He's an exciting guy. And I think people are going to mistake Bogdan's sort of control and pace for him not being able to finish, which is not the case. Then we got my girl, Jasudavicius, and she is taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Notably, the first UFC women's fight ever in Saudi Arabia. What a progressive country they are. They're allowing women now to work for a living. And it's going to be an interesting breakdown because I've broken in this... remix it. I've broken this down a few times. And every time I break this down, here's the summary breakdown, and then I'm going to tell you the feedback I'm getting. Summary. Jasmine Jasudavicius is an absolute dog wrestler. She's been wrestling long before she was an MMA fighter, and she uses that wrestling well. She's got good forward pressure. She will grind. She'll take you down. She's not afraid to get into a fist fight. Her striking is okay, right? It's tactical, but it's not great. And she's taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Mayra Bueno Silva is tough. She's incredibly dangerous on the ground. And she's much better than her 2-2-1 recent record. Her last fight, she was winning, got a really bad cut in her face, and so she lost that fight from a cut. The fight before that, she fought for a world title. And the fight before that, she beat Holly Holm. Beat her. But it's not going to reflect that on the record because she had Ritalin in her system. Maybe it was Adderall. One of those two. It wasn't steroids. She didn't have the Hamdy cocktail. Just some mood adjusters. But they're banned. She didn't disclose them, whatever the hell it was. So they took that win away. So you're going to look at her recent record. You're going to see the colored dots on Tapology and be like, meh. Jasmine dominates here. And when I first broke down this fight, I picked Jasmine. I've picked Jasmine the whole time. I'm going to pick her right now. But I said, I think Jasmine wins, right? We continue to see people like Aylin Perez, even though Jasmine's 10 times the wrestler she is. But we see people like that who can control where the fight goes, and just the ability to grind and wrestle is enough to beat a lot of women in these weight classes. So I'm picking Jasmine. But I said, 2-1. 2-1 seems a bit tricky, right? I think Jasmine wins, but certainly Mayra is tough and proven. And she's fought world champions, multiple world champions. And Jasmine hasn't. And the comment section, overwhelmingly, I didn't see a single person. And now you guys are going to do it because I'm saying it out loud and everybody, I think Mayra wins. But I didn't see a single person, over 40,000 views breaking this fight down. Not one person in a comment vocally said, I think Mayra's going to win. Not one. The overwhelming comments about this fight were, Mayra Bueno Silva is a quitter with no cardio and Jasmine runs right through her. I mean, that was the general consensus. I didn't see anybody saying it's going to be competitive. This will be close. Literally, everybody was saying Mayra is a quitter with no cardio and Jasmine's going to run through her. And now here I am breaking this fight down for the third time. I'm going to continue to pick Jasmine, and I'm more confident in Jasmine than ever. The problem is, I don't know if that's because of you people or I was just a little scaredy cat the first time I broke it down, and now I'm really coming into my own here and knowing that Jazzy will get it done. That's what's the tricky part about doing what I do on this side of the camera, because you get to watch me and hear me. Maybe you listen to one or two other things, and you'll have a total of 1 to 3 opinions in your ear, including your own. I get all of yours. Everybody who comments has an opinion, and that's great. We want the feedback. We want the opinions. Let's get the healthy debates. But sometimes those seep in. So I'm sitting here now saying, Jasmine Jasudavicius is the pick. I think she wins. I'm more confident now than I was a few weeks ago, and I don't know if that's because I'm coming to my senses or because I'm letting the comments seep in, but we all seem to be on the same page because every single one of you said Mayra Bueno Silva is a quitter and Jasmine's going to run right through her. That's what you said, not me. Then we got Ziam taking on Michael Davis. Ziam is an interesting guy to break down because up until his last fight, Ziam wasn't anything special, right? He was a technical striker, would dance on the outside, hang out, avoid danger at all costs, but he was technical. He would come in, pitter-patter, technical, avoid the chaos. No car crashes here, just technical, boring Ziam looking for a pitter-patter technical decision. But in his last fight, he absolutely blew through Matt Frevola. There was a tight guillotine. There was a couple other things going on there where it looked like Matt might have a little bit of success. But all of a sudden, Firas was not afraid to engage. Had no problem coming in. And he found that finish in spectacular fashion. But this is a very different fight. As much as we all like Matt Frevola for how entertaining he is and the power he has in his hands, he's not Mike Davis. Mike Davis is very good. He's a fast, athletic striker. He's got real power. He transitions from that power to wrestling. His kicks are incredible. He'll kick the body twice and then come up to the head before he puts that foot back down on the mat. Incredibly well-rounded. He showcased that well-roundedness in his last 4 fights where he had a combined 14 takedowns and a bunch of successful striking exchanges. He is coming off that finish win over Natan Levy, where we did see the power. He's also coming off of a bicep injury. And this isn't the first time that Michael Davis has been injured. This guy's had an unfortunate run. He's constantly getting hurt, taking a year off, getting hurt, year and a half out. And I know some people are like, he said he likes to take. I'm telling you right now, maybe he doesn't want to fight 3 times a year, but there is no way that he likes getting injured as much as he is, likes having to wait a year to come back and fight against his will, because he has to wait for the injuries to heal. I am picking Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis is far more dangerous. I think he's a faster, more athletic, more powerful striker. I don't know if he's as technical. Frost has good technical striking with that Savat style. But Mike Davis is certainly faster, more powerful, more athletic, has better wrestling, and he's more dangerous. So I'm picking Mike Davis to win. I have him in a little bit of a parlay. I'll give you the other half of that parlay when we get there. So Mike Davis is going to be the pick. The one thing that does concern me is he is 32. So he's getting a little older. A year away between 31 and 32 is very different than a year away between 24 and 25. Those are completely different numbers. Mike Davis is going to be the pick. I'll explain the other half of that parlay when we get there and why I made it. Then we have Terrance McKinney taking on Damir Hadzovic. Terrance McKinney, by far the most unreliable person on this fight card. Remember last week when we had the RIP to the lock of the week, but we had Kevin Holland fighting. Talked about how good Kevin Holland is. Striking is fantastic. His jiu-jitsu is good as well. The problem with Kevin Holland, he's unreliable. He's not a guy that you can trust to do what he's supposed to do. He's a guy that'll go on Rampage Jackson's podcast and talk shit to one of the most well-liked fighters in history. Talk about a terrible PR move. Who doesn't like Rampage Jackson? Everybody loves Rampage. Everybody loves Rampage. And that whole rant is to say Kevin Holland was very talented and unreliable, as is Terrance McKinney. Terrance McKinney is unbelievably talented. He has phenomenal wrestling. He was a JUCO national champion, I believe. He has phenomenal striking with speed, accuracy, and power. He has very good jiu-jitsu as well. Terrance McKinney has every single tool that you need to be a world champion, except cardio and a chin. The cardio is his fault. Go run. And then you get tired, and then keep running. And then if you're tired, just stop. Don't stop. Run more. And eventually you'll get that cardio. The chin is not his fault, though. He can't help that. And that's what makes him so unreliable. He's talented. I think he's won the first 3 minutes of every fight he's ever been in. And then the chin gets checked, or he gets tired and things go south. He's taking on Damir Hadzovic. Damir Hadzovic's almost 40. Damir Hadzovic has quite a few losses. And Damir Hadzovic's not amazing at anything, right? He's an okay striker. He likes to march forward. He'll throw short punches. He'll try to get you against the cage and he'll try to take you down. If he gets you down, he'll hammer. He'll stay on top. He'll be busy. He'll look to get you out of there. The reality is, though, Damir's not nearly as dangerous. He's not nearly as fast. He's not nearly as well-rounded. He's more durable, though. So can Damir weather an early showcase storm from Terrance McKinney? Maybe. And if he can, Terrance will lose. But I don't think so, right? Terrance wins this fight, right? He should. He's only 30. He's a young guy. He's got all the talent in the world. He's matched up against a 38-year-old where he's better everywhere. Terrance McKinney should win. I'm picking Terrance McKinney to win. I'm hoping these odds tighten, though. Betting on Terrance McKinney at minus 335 is the plot of a nightmare. So hopefully we'll get some better odds. I suspect it'll go the other way, though. And we'll see. We'll look at the round line. It'll be 1.5 and the under will be juiced. But we'll look at the round line. We'll look at the prop bets. We'll see where we can make some money here. But for sure, Terrance McKinney is the pick here. Then we have Shamil Gaziev right off the runway. Gorgeous man. You know Alan Joban? That handsome devil that works the desk at UFC? The only reason he's in that spot and not Shamil is because Shamil's an active fighter. Where Alan Joban can do that, right? He literally is a model, and he can do that work because he doesn't have the fight career. Shamil is right in the middle of his fight career, but once his fight career is done, Boom. He's going to be on the desk. Look at this man. Gorgeous man. Who wouldn't want to hear fight breakdowns from him? This is what the UFC is trying to do. They're trying to get our wives and our girlfriends to watch. And the only way you do that is by putting gorgeous people in fights and gorgeous people on the desk to do commentary. Right now, Alan Jouban is keeping Shamil Gaziev's seat warm. But as soon as he's done with his career, a couple more years, he's 34, boom, he's in that desk. And you better make sure your wife has 3 pairs of underwear because she's going to need to change them watching this guy. So keep him in the other room during this fight because Shamil's going to win this fight. And looking as good as he looks, winning a fight, you might never get her back. Let's talk about how he's going to win. He's a large man. He's a Dagestani. And you might assume, wrestler. And yes, he does have wrestling. But he's not a non-stop wrestler. He's not the typical Dagestani wrestler. He's a powerful striker. He marches forward. He will land big. And he's looking to take your block off. He's physically, a specimen physically. Absolute spectacular to look at. But he does have improved cardio. He came in hot, was getting finishes. Finished in his UFC debut. They threw him in a main event in his second fight ever. Kind of got walked down, and it's fine. He was feeling himself a little too much. He was undefeated, thought he was better than he was, and just sort of got outworked by a UFC veteran. He came back. He won his last fight against Dontel Mays, and it was a decision. So it's nice to see that he does have 15 full minutes of cardio, even though it wasn't the fastest pace in the world. He's fighting Thomas Petersen, and while Thomas Petersen is not spectacular anywhere, he actually is pretty good everywhere. Solid wrestler. He'll work in bear hugs. He'll work in a straight-up double leg takedown. His striking is not great, but he will close the gap. He's got nice straight punches. He'll march forward, and he'll stay in your face. Once he gets you against the cage is when he will work. He'll stay busy in the clinch. He'll try to drag you to the ground. If he cannot take you down, he will be in a little bit of trouble. But if he can take you down, he's got great control, and he's not somebody you could easily shuck off. The question in this fight is, is Shamil a fraud? Is Shamil overrated? I don't think so. I think Shamil got a little too much too soon when he lost to Rosenstruck. I think that's what happened. Rosenstruck was a world-level Muay Thai striker for many years, traveled the world fighting in Muay Thai fights, been in the UFC for a very long time, tried and true, proven entity, and to fight him in your second fight ever in the UFC, too much too soon. And it happens. We've seen it happen with several fighters, not just Shamil. But what did Shamil do? He bounced back. He made the adjustments, fixed his cardio, and he went 15 minutes with Dontel Mays. And Dontel Mays isn't amazing, but Dontel Mays is dangerous. Dontel Mays has a little bit of wrestling. He's got powerful striking. So to go 15 minutes, get some takedowns, have plenty of control, and win that fight was a good sign. I think he wins this fight as well. Is it a dominant performance? I guess we'll find out. He is the other half of that parlay with Mike Davis, because I think Shamil's a far better fighter. I'm also a little worried. I'm not entirely sold on him. I'm not entirely sold on Mike Davis. I told you that long layoff is concerning. So what I normally do is take 2 guys that should win, that I'm fairly confident in, and I'll slap them together. I'm not wildly confident. I don't ever bet money that I don't think I'll win. I do think they win. Not enough to call it the safety parlay, but I did slap that together. Speaking of the safety parlay, look at this transition. 10 of the last 12. And if you want to be a weird dork hater that thinks everybody hits everything at 100%, well, boy, you're going to have a rough time betting on this sport. But if you're a logical human being that understands this is the most volatile sport in the world to bet on, if you're a logical human being that understands how crazy fist fights can be, if you're a logical human being that just watched UFC 311 where 4 different undefeated gentlemen, one of whom was a 10-1 favorite, lost, then you're logical enough to understand how wildly spectacular hitting 10 of the last 12 safety parlays is. It is the beacon of stability. 10 of 12 is an astronomical number. A 54% ROI on one single bet is an astronomical number. And you can unlock the safety parlay right now. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. The UFC Saudi Arabia safety parlay is available to you. You'll also get the safety parlay for UFC 312. You'll also get the safety parlay for the 2 fight nights after that, because we're about to hit a very long, multiple-month stretch of fights every single Saturday. And that $10 a month, that membership, is for an entire month. You get all of the events in that window. You're also going to get $50 if you want it. Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our sportsbook partners. You got to use the link. It's affiliate marketing. The only way that we get paid is if you use the link. And then you make a deposit. They're going to pay us. And then I will slice off some of that money and give it right back to you. But if you don't use the link, there's no way to associate it to us. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Here's a look at the data analyzer. I talk quite a bit about tools. Obviously, we've got picks and we've got bets and we've got all that. And there's a giant chunk of you that just want to copy paste. Hey, tell me who to bet on, I'll bet on. And there's also a massive chunk of people that are like, I don't want anybody else's picks and bets. I'll do my own, thank you. Great. We built the greatest research tool in history. This tool has everything you could ever want or need. If you're one of the people that do your own research, and maybe this video is part of your research, but you're like, I'm not going to buy picks or bets, I do my own. Great. Comment down below what your process is for research, because I promise you, every single thing you do, the 5 different websites that you're using to do your own tape study, to watch the film, to look at the stats, to look at the data, all of that is available in this one single tool. So if your time is worth anything, instead of banging around 5 different websites, instead of searching vigorously for fight tape, every single thing that you need to sit down and do your research is inside of this tool. I promise you. You also have access to everybody, not just me. Couple of blokes from the other side of the world, and an artificial intelligence. WeWantPicks.com, click becoming members, freaking $10 for everything that we do. 10 for everything for an entire month. It's crazy. It's crazy. And a lot of you are probably new. We might be your first introduction to betting on UFC and doing that type of work and research. And I promise you started at the top. Nobody is offering what we offer or anything like it anywhere near this price point. There's people charging $100 a month and they suck down bad, but they're still charging $100 a month and it's only bets, none of the other stuff. We're at $10. This is the Costco model. A phenomenal product at an incredibly low price point that everybody trusts. And that is why we have 4,400 or 4,600, I forget the number, it's changing every day, premium members. And the reason that number continues to grow is because people sign up, they take a look around, they're like, holy shit, this really is a good deal for $10. WeWantPicks.com, click become a member at the top. Here's the address if you want to send something for the vlogs. Next vlog will be UFC 312 next week. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Any letter you want us to read, any product that you're producing, that you're trying to sell, you want to shout out in one of our videos, no problem. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Then we have the main card. The opening fight on the UFC Saudi Arabia main card is Muhammad Naimov taking on Kaan Ofli. Naimov's the pick. And I'll tell you why. Kaan Ofli's decent, right? And he was some circumstances in his last fight. He's coming off that knockout loss to Marlon Santos. He moved forward. He was looking to grapple, but he was blasted. But there were some circumstances there coming off the show, weight classes, things like that. Kaan Ofli is a BJJ black belt. The takedowns are just okay. The striking is just okay. On the ground, he is busy. He is looking for something. But he's not particularly long. He's not particularly tall. So he's a short, stocky guy that has a BJJ black belt. And I can tell you, from 30-something years of watching this sport, from 25 years of doing jiu-jitsu myself, from 30 years of wrestling, whatever the hell it is, how old am I? Short, stocky guys at this level, whose number one thing is BJJ, they don't have the wrestling takedowns to go with it, is tough. Because when you don't have the long arms and the long legs, you're not getting darces. In scrambles, you're not able to wrap things up. So that BJJ black belt isn't quite as impressive at this level when you don't have the incredible length to make things super tricky. And he's in an uphill battle here because he's taking on Muhammad Naimov. This is a well-rounded guy. He does prefer to strike, but he can wrestle when he needs to. He's fast. He's athletic. He's got the old school martial arts training and then some new tricks as well. He plots forward. He throws in combinations. He'll close that distance, clinch up, strike inside the clinch. He'll defend takedowns. If he wants to change it up or if he gets tired or he feels like I can't really knock this guy out, then he'll wrestle and he'll end up on top. Muhammad Naimov should absolutely have the submission defense here. Muhammad Naimov should be able to use the powerful hands, use the wrestling, and do all the things. This is another fight where as time goes on, I get more and more confident in him. And maybe that's because we just watched the other Tajik smoke Rinya Nakamura's stupid ass. But Muhammad Naimov is the pick, and I am more and more confident every day. Then we have Ikram Aliskerov taking on jiu-jitsu nerd Andre Muniz. Now, while I just said Kaan Ofli, his black belt, isn't going to be as impressive in the UFC at this level as some others, Andre Muniz does have a very impressive jiu-jitsu black belt. Because while he is a jiu-jitsu nerd, he is long. He is aggressive. He does work in different techniques. Andre Muniz can also shoot some takedowns. Jiu-jitsu nerd is a term that we just sort of coined with the butt scooters of the world, the guard pullers of the world, whose only plan is I need to get this to the ground at all costs whatsoever because I can't really strike and I can't wrestle. Andre Muniz is a little bit better than a jiu-jitsu nerd. Calling him a nerd is a little bit unfair because his striking is actually pretty technical and he does have wrestling. He will actively shoot takedowns. He had 11 takedowns in his last fight. And he still managed to get his strikes doubled. That's how bad his striking is. Andre Muniz is good. Andre Muniz is dangerous, but he was a bit exposed and he had a little bit of a losing skid there. Brendan Allen just said, I don't care about this guy. Moved forward, took him down, beat the shit out of him. Paul Craig, same thing. And once the world stopped being afraid of Andre Muniz's jiu-jitsu, they started smacking him around a little bit. He's taking on Ikram Aliskerov. And before everybody says, ooh, chinny bitch, he was just knocked out in his last fight by Robert Whittaker. He was just knocked out in his last fight by a guy who has been top 5 on planet Earth for 8 years? Something obscene? Like something insane? One of the longest tenured top 5 fighters on the planet. And yeah, he got knocked out, but Ikram was supposed to fight in Las Vegas. Then he moved to a main event on the other side of planet Earth on less than 1 week's notice. So there were some circumstances in that loss. Style-wise, he's a Russian, so there's some things you can expect. He's got that beard with no mustache. There's a couple of things you can expect. When he is wrestling, though, it'll be nonstop. I'm saying when because he's not all in on the wrestling. He does lots of body locks. He likes to tie up. He'll shoot some shots. When he gets you to the ground, getting rid of him is almost impossible. He's got phenomenal control. His striking is improving. He's got a good high guard, solid combination. The power is absolutely there. But as I mentioned, he's coming off that loss. Ikram was a 3-1 favorite a few weeks ago. 5-1 favorite last week. He's a 6-1 favorite now. He should be a 38-1 favorite. I mean, outside of a Hail Mary submission, I don't see Andre Muniz getting the takedowns. I don't see it. I don't see Andre Muniz bombing away and somehow winning the striking match. I think Ikram Aliskerov does whatever he wants on the feet. He might shoot a takedown. Doesn't need to. If he does, I think he's got good enough skills to stay safe on top. Ikram Aliskerov is absolutely the pick. And unfortunately, these odds don't get insane. They're already bad, but they're very accurate. And they could still be accurate at the minus 1,000 mark. Then we have Said Nurmagomedov taking on Vinicius Oliveira. This is a line that continues to tighten. Said Nurmagomedov, 3-1 favorite, 2-1 favorite. Tighten. It's never going to flip. Said Nurmagomedov is going to be the favorite throughout. He'll close as the favorite, but I just don't know how wide those odds will get. And he's a guy, you'll see the last name, you'll make some assumptions. This is not where you should make those assumptions because Said Nurmagomedov is not a wrestler. He's a striker. He's very long, and he uses that length really well. He keeps range. He keeps you at the ends of his strikes. He'll work in and out of the pocket. He'll throw kicks from anywhere. He can be 1 inch away. Bang! A kick right up the middle. His striking is versatile. His takedown defense is solid at 65%. The length doesn't just benefit him, though, on the feet to manage distance. He's wrapping up chokes, specifically guillotine chokes. 3rd time in his last 5 fights that he won by guillotine in his last fight against Muin Gafurov. He's taking on Vinicius Oliveira. He's very fun. He charges forward. He throws everything at the wall. He looks for a finish. He's sloppy as hell, but he is dangerous. He's not just chaos on the feet, on the ground. He's chaos as well, throwing anything to anywhere looking for finishes. He is winning fights with aggression, with power, with creativity. He's coming off the decision win over Ricky Simone, where he doubled Ricky's strikes, and he defended 9 takedowns. And I'm picking Vinicius here. I picked him a few weeks ago when he was a plus 225 underdog. Now he's a plus 145 underdog. It's out. Everybody's on him. He is a pretty solid dog here. Lots of people are on Vinicius Oliveira. And we saw it in his last fight. He fought a phenomenal wrestler that was a cardio machine, defended the takedown, stayed busy. His cardio didn't wilter. and he won that fight. Said Nurmagomedov is going to be a very long, lean striker, but Vinicius Oliveira is also very long. And this is going to be an interesting circumstance because Said's used to being long. At this weight class, being 5'8", his build, he's used to having that reach advantage. He's used to being able to squeeze those skinny little arms under your neck. But Vinicius is going to make that a little tricky. I'm picking Vinicius here. My only concern, the only reason I never quite pulled the trigger on a bet is because Vinicius Oliveira can be chaotic, and that chaos can put him in the harm's way. Like, he can literally charge forward recklessly and put himself in a situation where he gets choked or something stupid happens. But Vinicius is going to be the pick. I think he's durable enough on the feet, busy enough on the feet, creative enough on the feet, good enough wrestler to get at the ground, and hopefully I'll make some assumptions on his Brazilian heritage and his ability to defend jiu-jitsu chokes. Then we got Sergey Pavlovich looking like he's holding in a fart, taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who looks like he knows that Sergey just farted. This is going to be a great fight as well because this is a heavyweight banger. These are two heavyweight strikers. There will be no takedowns here. Look at the takedown stats. 0 takedowns. Neither one of them have gotten a takedown in their UFC tenure. None. 0. Zilch. And I don't expect any of it here. We got Sergey Pavlovich, a fast, powerful striker. Giant dude. He does have some chicken legs, but a giant dude with incredible speed. His biggest asset is obviously his speed and his power, and that power is even more impressive because of the speed. A guy his size should not be able to throw punches as fast as he does, but he manages to do it. The problem for Sergey Pavlovich is doesn't seem to be able to defend against a jab, and we did see that in his last fight where Alexander Volkov just kept the jab in his face, and it was impossible for Sergey to connect. He's taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, an accomplished Muay Thai fighter in his own right. Then he moved over to MMA. And this fight will be in his wheelhouse as well because he's not going to have to defend takedowns. He's going to get to strike the entire time. He's a heavy-handed guy. He has that Muay Thai striking, but it's not this Muay Thai. It's not hands up like this, light, boom, long kicks. It's more counter-striking. He does a phenomenal job. If you overcommit, if you come in a little hot and he can slip, boom, he's there waiting for you. And he picks up his volume as the fight goes on. He does a great job conserving energy. He does a great job being there the whole fight. He doesn't blow his wad. He doesn't go hunting. He waits for you to commit. He counter strikes, frustrates you, and then takes over. He is coming off that absolute, what in my opinion was a showcase win over Tai Tuivasa. One judge was about to screw him, but it didn't matter. He dominated with just clean technical skills. And I think that can happen here. Certainly Sergey is dangerous. Sergey might be the most dangerous heavyweight striker. And you might say, oh, Derek Lewis, the knockout king. Derek Lewis has more knockouts than anybody in the history of the UFC in any weight class. But Derek Lewis isn't very technically sound, and he's a bit slow and lumbering. He just hasn't crazy speed. Sergey Pavlovich does have crazy speed and power. So he's probably the most dangerous heavyweight, but I still think Jairzinho wins this fight. I think Jairzinho will be able, first of all, I look so short because my camera's a little high. So what is this, 3 inches between the top of the head? I'm 6'3". I don't know why I look so damn short. And you guys hear me ranting and raving, and everybody assumes I'm like a small man with small man complex. The bagel guy. I'm not. Now let's leave my insecurities and come back to this. I think Jairzinho wins. He's the more technical striker, and I think that's what's going to matter. I think that's what's going to matter. We just watched Sergey have a hard time with a technical jab. Obviously, that gentleman is 6'7", but I think Jairzinho can do the same. I think if Sergey comes in hot, if Jairzinho's able to get out of the way, I think he can win this fight. Problem is, if he can't get out of the way, Sergey hits hard and he comes at you fast. Then we have the co-main event of the evening, and people do seem to be split here. I thought I was going to get a lot of hate when I first picked Michael Venom Page. But there seems to be not quite a 50-50 split, but there's a good chunk of people that think Venom's going to win and a larger chunk of people that are picking Shara. Either way, this should be a very good fight. This is a great co-main event. We got Shara Magomedov looking like a comic book villain. One of those eyes doesn't work. A couple of those teeth are just not there. I don't know if he's ever been to a barber. And he doesn't care. And he looks the part. He looks like a guy that you would be afraid to fight. And sometimes in the cage, he fights like a guy that you would be afraid to fight. Sometimes he just sort of dances around, doesn't get his volume going. Sometimes he does double spinning back fist elbows. Sometimes he comes forward with insane kicks. Frankly, I'm pretty sure, I don't have the stats. I think and if you want the stats, WeWantPicks.com. Use the data analyzer. I think he kicks more than he punches. He's a fun, creative, powerful striker. He's very fast. He'll mix up those striking techniques. It's not just hands. It's not just kicks. He's all over the place. He's spinning. He's not spinning. He's jumping. He does have plenty of cardio as well. Even if you wrestle him, like we saw with Bruno Silva, he'll work his way up and he won't slow down. Sharimagomedov is fun. He's exciting. He doesn't quite have the same finish percentage in the UFC as he did on the regional scene, but he is coming off one of the coolest finishes we have ever seen over Armen Petrosyan. But he's taking on Michael Venom Page. So far in his UFC tenure, Michael Venom Page will be the best, most accomplished striker that Shara has ever fought. But these are two different types of strikers. Michael Page, we'll just call him MVP, is a combat karate striker. That's that long range. His base is wide, his hands are low and wide, and he covers ground so fast. This guy will move 6 feet across the cage in 1 second. Bah! It's insane what he can do. He's got good kicks. He's got good punches. He is very exposed. His hands are not here. They're down here. But his unorthodox style, his insane in and out speed has people swinging and missing. He is coming off that loss to Ian Gary, but that's because Ian Gary turned into a wrestler because MVP was beating him to the punch, literally, was outstriking him. So Ian Gary's like, I need to wrestle. And he started wrestling. I'm a big MVP fan. I thought he looked insane in his UFC debut. And yes, that was against the very unreliable Kevin Holland. But he was just doing whatever the hell he wanted to do. It was full showcase. And if Shara comes in here thinking that he could just bounce around, throw a couple of kicks out there every now and then, I think he's going to be a bit frustrated and a bit surprised when Michael Page covers insane distance, knocks him in the face, and then he's out of the pocket. I'm going to pick MVP. This is probably my last ride with MVP. Because even though I'm picking him, and I think he wins for all the reasons I just described, I mean, if Shara smoked MVP, I wouldn't be surprised. He is 37 years old. The clock's ticking. I am picking MVP though, and I hope these odds widen. And if they do, I might put a little teensy on there, and I might do MVP plus 3.5. If you don't know what that is, you're just basically betting the spread. You're buying points on the judges' scorecard. While Shara is dangerous, MVP's a somewhat durable guy. Obviously, one of his knockout losses is what Diego Lima did to him. That was one of the most impressive knockouts, but Mike was on the wrong side of it. So that could happen. He could get knocked out. But Shara tends to find knockouts and doesn't go hunting for him, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, he finished Antonio Tricoli on 1 week notice, and Tricoli sucks. But outside of that, and the double spinning back fist, we could end up with a decision here. And so just getting around on MVP could be worth the money. Keep an eye out for those prop bets. Download the app. Keep your alerts on when I place that bet. If I place that bet, you'll get the alert. And then we have the main event of the evening. This is an interesting one to break down. I talked about a couple fighters on this card that I was getting more confident in as the week went on. Jasmine Jasudavicius, the Tajik. But this is a situation where I'm getting less confident. I picked Izzy. I'm going to pick Izzy again, but I'm getting less confident. The reason I'm getting less confident is we do see some fighters fall from grace, and they fall hard. And Izzy could be that person. We don't quite know yet. Obviously, as you know, Israel Adesanya is one of the greatest middleweights of all time. In my opinion, the second best middleweight of all time. And Anderson Silva is number one. I think Anderson Silva fought a wider breadth of fighter. Certainly has more records and all that crap. But I think Anderson Silva just did more in his body of work than Adesanya did with his. But with that being said, Israel Adesanya, one of the best to ever do it in any weight class. He's a phenomenal striker. Hasn't quite evolved in the grappling as much as you would have hoped, but the striking is there. And his striking, even in his last fight where he was taken down and ultimately finished, looked great. He was lighting Dricus up. He was ripping the body, ripping the head. I picked Dricus in that fight, so I ended up being correct, but I was a nervous wreck the whole time because it just felt like Izzy was winning the striking exchanges. And then obviously the grinding, the forward pressure, the ragdolling, the takedowns sort of took some wind out of his sails. But I thought Izzy's striking looked phenomenal in that fight, and if it's that, if he gets the opportunity to strike, and he looks as good of a striker in this as he did in the last one, then I think Izzy wins this fight because he's taking on Nasruddin Imavov. Nasruddin Imavov is a good striker, not great, not nearly as good as Izzy. He's a busy striker. He's always working forward. He's always throwing something. He can strike and he can counter-strike. He's got a nice jab, solid elbows. He looks comfortable mixing it up. He's not insanely dangerous. He's not insanely technical. He's not insanely fast, but he's good. He also has decent wrestling. We haven't seen enough of it for me to be like, Izzy has to watch out. But he does have some wrestling. The takedown defense is great. It did not look good in the first round of his last fight with Brendan Allen, and then it looked phenomenal after that. And then he was just defending takedowns and piecing up Brendan Allen. The reason this is an interesting fight to break down is because Nasruddin might come in with a wrestle-heavy game plan. And even if he can't ragdoll Izzy the same way Dricus did, what he might be able to do is frustrate Izzy, get Izzy against the cage, rack up a minute or two here, a minute or two there. Because he held him against the cage, he could have some success coming over the top. So there's some weird circumstances that could happen here, but I'm still going to pick Izzy because of the striking. I think this will mostly be striking, and I think Izzy is the better striker. Sometimes you just have to go with 1 + 1 = 2, and that's what I've done here. I will not be betting on Israel Adesanya. I don't quite know if his career is about to fall off a cliff or if he just fought the number 1 and number 2 guy in the world and now he's number 3, which obviously can happen. Israel Adesanya is going to be the pick. I'm curious who your pick is below. Let me know in the comments. And after that, let me know if you downloaded the app. Let me know what you think about the app. Obviously, we can improve on it. We can make adjustments. The app can evolve over time, as it will. But right now, it has every single thing the website offers. Every single thing the website offers. With a better, easier to use experience and push notifications. Inside the app, you'll have full access to the data analyzer. All the tools, all the data, the insight, the information, bang, right there in the app on your phone. You'll have access to the line movement tracker that we talked about. This will give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You'll have access to the prop hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. And you'll have access to my picks and bets, Jacob's picks and bets, the artificial intelligence picks and bets, BetSam's picks and bets. You'll have access to Artem's breakdowns. That's 5 different, I'm going to say people, but one of them's a robot, worth of insight, picks, bets, and breakdowns. Every single thing we do is one package for $10. All the DFS, all the betting, everything we do. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month, and we're about to hit an insanely long stretch with no breaks. WeWantPicks.com. Good luck this weekend. I am very excited to kick off this stretch. I hate the fight on, fight off. I want the flow. Let's hit that flow. You guys have changed my life, and I'm trying to change yours.